This is just a sample of the audiobook. To get the complete audiobook, access the link posted in the first comment.
I remember a sense of eeriness and palpable shame. A few stray locals eyeballing us suspiciously as we rolled down the main street, windows down, past the disused bank where they found the acid-filled barrels, where they found the bodies. December 1999. It lingers in the memory. Roasting hot, like Australian summers always are. A dry, scorching, unforgiving, relentless heat. I was moving from the Australian capital city of Canberra back across the desert 3,718 kilometres, 2,310 miles, to my hometown of Perth, Western Australia. Just for fun, I decided to forego the airlines and drive my car across the Nullarbor Plain, that vast, flat, empty, dry expanse that divides our major cities east and west. My Perth-based buddy, Scott, flew across and came along for the ride. I mapped it out as a comfortable 9-day drive, stopping every night to rest and refuel. The subsequent peripatetic journey went off without a hitch, bar one punctured tire, which I changed on the edge of the desert highway, while Scott kept watch to make sure a passing road train didn't dissect my legs as they jutted out from under the car. We took a few detours here and there to do some sightseeing. One such detour stands out to this day. South Australia has an unfair reputation as the serial killer capital of Australia. It is their misfortune to have experienced quite an eclectic collection of serial murders over the decades. Perhaps none more bizarre than the ones that ended in the tiny northern town of Snowtown, population 467, according to the last national census taken in 2016, some 152 kilometers, 94 miles, north of the A1 National Highway, from the quaint capital city of Adelaide, known as the City of Churches. The case broke and made national and global headlines in May 1999. 8 murder victims found in 6 plastic barrels in a disused bank on the main street of sleepy Snowtown. When it was over, there were 12 bodies in total and 4 perpetrators in the most prolific case of serial murder in Australian history to date. The murders really started in 1992 and weaved their way towards Snowtown, a long, twisted road. The perpetrators were John Bunting, Robert Wagner, and James Vlasakis. There was no real reason for the murders, although an effort was made to use some of the victims' identities to access Social Security, unemployment payments, and bank accounts. The victims were all known to the killers, all friends or casual acquaintances. John Bunting was the ringleader in the killings, a former abattoir worker who professed a hatred of pedophiles and homosexuals, and who, like many ignorant people, thought they were one and the same. He accused many of the victims of these supposed sins. Like many individuals who become serial killers, Bunting had a childhood filled with neglect and abuse, sexual abuse in his case. No doubt it was the shame from the memory of it that led him to develop sociopathic tendencies, to detect weaknesses in others and exploit it, to hate anyone he suspected of being a deviant. History would show that Bunting's psychopathic behavior and delight in torture increased as the cooling-off period between the murders decreased. Robert Wagner, another damaged individual with a history of childhood abuse, was a neighbor Bunting befriended before the murders started. Mark Hayden was another neighbor roped in later down the path. James Vlasakis was the son of one of Bunting's de facto lovers. The murder spree itself was long and convoluted, a tale tinged with poverty, neglect, ignorance, addiction, and despair. Let's start at the beginning to get a chronological understanding of how this whole mess transpired. John Bunting had a terrible upbringing. Born in Queensland in 1966, at the age of 8 he was sexually assaulted and beaten up by a friend's older brother. Naturally, this had an indelible effect on his psyche, as the incident was suppressed and never treated. In his early 20s, Bunting found work in an abattoir where he derived great pleasure in slaughtering animals.